Alright, so you guys have seen my Gran Turismo Sport videos, and you're probably wondering, man, it looks great on your OLED, but still, what type of settings are you using to utilize such a great picture? Well, that's what I'm gonna do here in 10 minutes. So get your pens, get your pencils ready. If you have OLED 8 series, this will work on C8, this will work on B8, and of course E8. So it doesn't matter which 8 series OLED you have, this should work. So without any further delay, let me go ahead and show you my game mode picture settings that I'm utilizing here. Okay, so here we go. Alright, so first thing first, you have to select the game mode because you are playing a video game, so it would make sense for you to use game mode HDR. The HDR does support the game mode preset as well. Because we are playing a HDR game, we have to have our OLED light set to 100 and our contrast set to 100. Otherwise, you will not take the advantage of high dynamic range. If you are afraid to move OLED light and contrast to the maximum, then you shouldn't have your HDR turned on. HDR needs the OLED light and the contrast set to maximum. So you have to have both of these set to maximum. Now let's move on to the brightness. This is the OLED, organic light emitting diode panel. It's organic, and therefore you don't need to mess around with the brightness too much because you already have the best possible pure pitch black digital levels that you can have at the moment. Therefore, no reason for you to mess around with the brightness. Leave the brightness at 50. Sharpness is 25. Sharpness at 25, I felt it's at a threshold. It's right there on a balanced level, and I think for a 55-inch television, this is perfect. And it's perfect for this video game as well. And I think this is probably the best sweet spot for the sharpness, in my opinion. Same thing goes with the color. You don't want to oversaturate the color. That's the no-no. That's the rule number one. Never oversaturate the color. Keep the color at 50, and that's what I did here. I left the color at 50. So keep that color at 50 right there. And if you look at these settings, you will see that everything is balanced. I'm not really going above and beyond trying to oversharp my digital sharp levels, or am I trying to overblow my white bright levels, or am I trying to crush my deep dark levels, or am I trying to oversaturate anything in terms of color? Everything you see here, it's pretty much balanced. Now let's move on to the color temperature. Guys, color temperature, in my honest opinion, you're playing a video game, you're not watching a movie, you're not watching sports, you're playing a video game. Keep the color temperature where it needs to be, at 0. No reason for you to go to W, warm. No reason for you to go to cold, blue. Keep it at middle, in 0, right here where it needs to be. Keep it at 0 because you want to have that balanced tone of color so you can enjoy what this awesome HDR Gran Turismo Sport game is trying to offer to you. Okay? Let's go to the advanced controls. Dynamic contrast, I like to use dynamic contrast set to high because I want to utilize the best possible contrast ratio. Especially on the OLED, when you have this dynamic contrast set to high, you are really getting the best of the best in terms of HDR and the contrast ratio. You're not going to find a better contrast ratio than here on this OLED. Dynamic tone mapping, I have it set to on, I'm sorry, not to high, to on. I have it turned on. What dynamic tone mapping basically does, it optimizes the contrast and brightens the HDR content. So you want to take the advantage of that as well to squeeze as much of that HDR as possible. Dynamic color, I have it at high, so that way I can have those vibrant colors. Remember, I already have my color at 50, so I'm not oversaturating anything. And leaving dynamic color at high, all it's going to do is going to brighten up that color gamut. And my color gamut set to wide, my super resolution set to off, and that's pretty much what I'm using for HDR game mode on Gran Turismo Sport. Now let's do some tests for another 5 minutes here. Let me show you how it looks in action. Alright, so here we go. Let me show you how it looks in action. Hopefully the camera will be able to capture this a little bit just to show you how awesome this is. And really is awesome. Trust me, when you use these settings, you will see exactly what I was talking about here. Now this is the view inside a car. Shortly we're gonna go to the outside the car view to show you how it looks outside the car. So let's do that really quick. Now this is the outside view of the camera. And just look how beautiful that looks. Look at that that HDR. Just how awesome it is. I cannot tell you just how beautiful this is. If you're not, well, you can't really see it unless you're here in person with me just to appreciate how beautiful this looks. And it really does. Looks beautiful. I would say this is the best HDR game that you can showcase on your television with your PlayStation 4 Pro. I would say Gran Turismo Sport. It's definitely that one game I would highly recommend for you to showcase to your friends. Now let's switch to the first person mode inside the cockpit. Alright, so we're inside the car. And man, it just looks beautiful. It really does. But then again, you know, it will be difficult for you to see what I'm seeing here through a camera, especially through a video. Remember, the whole point of this video is for me to give you those settings. I want you guys to utilize those settings, and it will only work if you have OLED. If you don't have OLED 8 series, this will not work. You have to have this 8 series OLED brand from LG and model 8 series if you want this to work. Otherwise, it will not work. And once you utilize these settings, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you will appreciate exactly what I was saying here. And like I said, this is, in my opinion, the best HDR showcase that you can have for your HDR television, especially on the OLED. I have tested this game on a QLED, and I'm planning on doing some QLED settings as well for you guys. I might have to jump into a TCL R617 and do some test picture settings for the TCL R617 as well. But make no mistake, this looks the best on the OLED. This game will just simply, if you use these settings, the one that I just put here and improvised here, you guys will totally love this. You will appreciate this. Okay? When you see this in person, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's the conclusion of this video. It's the end of this video. Make sure to watch my previous video that I did on a police simulator. That's available as well, 4 hours. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good one.